Right now on this Denver 7 News special, Customers Pay.
Well, what do you do?
This is insane.
Denver 7 investigates, shining a light
So we're at Acme's facility here.
on a company that sued dozens of its own customers.
These aren't customers. Customers pay.
A state investigation into fraud.
This is an appalling example of someone who is a scam artist. It wasn't making its money by actually fixing products. It was making its money by tricking consumers.
And a warning for anyone shopping for services online.
I think this is the dark side of the internet.
While the wheels of justice turn slowly, Denver 7 Investigates is holding the company's CEO accountable
Why haven't they gotten their equipment back?
and finding solutions for people who'd lost hope.
You sped up the process. You found out where the equipment was. Amazingly, it's coming back to us.
Now from Denver 7, with Customers Pay, here's consumer investigator Jacqueline Allen.
Thanks so much for joining us. You've probably clicked accept on those terms of service online at some point, buying something or paying for a service, and you didn't think too much about it. But what happens when things go sideways? That's why over the next 30 minutes, you'll see this extreme example and understand why customers like you can pay a steep price. The Colorado Attorney General calls Acme Revival the poster child for predatory conduct and says he is taking action after we reported on customers like these. All sent devices to Acme Revival for repairs, but instead of saving money, they were sued. Denver 7 Investigates has been covering this story since January when we found Acme Revival had filed at least 85 lawsuits. Now that caught our attention, so we went to the company's facility in Conifer to get some answers. And that's where we get started.
So we're at Acme's facility here in Conifer, Colorado.
In the foothills of Jefferson County,
Devices do get repaired at these white tables.
Acme Revival seems like any other small electronics repair shop.
Yeah, so I started at Acme in 2020, right in the smack dab of COVID.
Piles of supplies, electronic devices, and lawsuits. Well, that part's different. Court records show Acme Revival is suing dozens and dozens of its own customers. Owner and CEO Logan Beck.
Why so many cases in such a short amount of time?
Well, I will first say that these aren't customers. Customers pay.
In a news release last year, Acme Revival described the issue as device abandonment, saying customers send devices, but once they get the bill, don't pay and don't want their stuff back.
This at first was a logistical issue because we're having to store hundreds of devices in these facilities, but eventually it became a financial one. At times, 30 to 40% of our customers were delinquent.
But now some customers are reaching out to Denver 7 Investigates to say there's more to the story than customers just not paying. Let's start with what one customer calls Binocular Gate.
Actually, I've used this story to tell my family why I actually am very entertained at Christmas time with this story.
Speaking from Florida, Glenn Weber's story starts with his favorite pair of binoculars.
I believe I actually typed in binocular repair and Acme Revival showed up on the internet.
In 2024, Acme's website shows Glenn shipped the binoculars to Colorado for repairs, but the repairs were unsuccessful. This email thread shows Glenn told them to give away the binoculars, and Acme wrote here they can dispose of the device, but he's responsible for a diagnostic fee. While Glenn was disputing the amount, Acme informed him a storage fee had accrued.
Probably the $300 or $400 now for the binoculars that originally cost $300 to begin with. So I said, I'm not going to pay him. This is insane.
The problem didn't go away, though. In September 2024, Acme filed this lawsuit for unpaid fees. In October, records show Glenn attempted to get Acme to mediate, but Acme didn't respond. All the while, his storage fee skyrocketing, now almost $5,000.
So that is where I am on Binocular Gate.
He's in good company. Denver 7 Investigates found Acme Revival has 85 cases against customers, both individuals and businesses, in Colorado courts.
What? It's just, what do you do?
Including David Leary in New Jersey. He sent in a projector used in this gym for children with special needs.
So when you said no, they kept charging you for storage fees?
$25 a day.
So how much did they want you to pay?
The last number that I recall was $3,450 or something.
His attorney, working pro bono, countersued in a New Jersey court, alleging fraud and theft, stating the entire scheme is designed to leave unwitting consumers with the impression that they have no choice but to pay what amounts to an illegal ransom.
And as we allege in the complaint, there's these hidden terms, which you really have to be hard-pressed to find. I, at one point, was getting 5-10 phone calls a day from people all throughout the United States telling the exact same story.
It looks like it's similar issues, similar stories.
The Better Business Bureau in Colorado is also hearing these stories, initially giving Acme Revival an F rating after receiving dozens of unresolved customer complaints, and not just about storage fees.
People are saying on the whole that they're sending their equipment in, usually to be remanufactured or repaired in some way, and either they're not getting the equipment back, or it's coming back and it's not fixed, or they're being charged these fees for storage and things like that that they weren't aware of.
The Better Business Bureau in Colorado is also hearing these stories, giving Acme Revival a D rating. And as some customers posted negative reviews online, Denver 7 Investigates learned Acme Revival was suing several for defamation.
As a way to gain an advantage in their civil case, they're going to run a smear campaign against Acme. And perhaps that's why you're here.
You think that I'm here to run a smear campaign?
I think that you might be here on behalf of unsophisticated defendants that think they might be getting an upper hand on their civil case by going to the media or going to a regulatory authority, when in fact this is a contract dispute, a simple contract dispute.
Logan Beck defending his business practices, saying Acme's initial customer email clearly discloses storage fees and gives Acme the right to pursue unpaid debts in Colorado.
We want to work with the customer to settle this. We don't want to take it to trial.
How many cases outside of that have settled?
I don't know the specifics.
Dozens?
Yeah, I would say that's fair to say.
Are the storage fees the moneymaker here?
I find that to be just an absurd allegation. If you know anything about litigation, you know it's very expensive. The fact that folks think that we're somehow preying on them and that Acme is a predator in the situation in a scheme to profit, it's just asinine.
Dozens of customers disagree, many ready for the court battle coming up.
It's very important for the state to be aware of what's going on. I think it's really important for you all to take care of this.
As customers brace for the court battle in January, Denver 7 Investigates wanted to dig into those defamation suits because I know I've left one-star reviews, maybe you have too. So can you be sued for leaving negative comments online? I took that question to Colorado's Attorney General Phil Weiser, who's just getting started.
How common or how rare is it for a business to sue its customers for defamation for leaving negative reviews?
It is very rare, and I think very unwise for businesses to sue customers because they don't like the review that they left. What consumers need to know is that when they offer negative feedback and reviews, they're exercising what is important to the public, which is getting that information out there. And if businesses want to torment, harass, or otherwise deter an honest and fair review, that's not right. That is unfair business practices, and we'll take allegations of that very seriously.
The AG tells me anyone being targeted for leaving negative reviews should contact his office at stopfraudcolorado.gov. But bottom line, federal laws give broad legal protections for you to post an honest review. Acme went after customers, saying those bad reviews were false and defamatory. They also claim the customers signed contracts agreeing to pay storage fees. So it all comes down to the courts. Denver 7 Investigates tracking the case when a Jefferson County judge delivers the first win for customers.
I don't find that a reasonable person would understand that by sending their device and clicking send me a repair quote, that person is consenting to be sued in the state of Colorado about a later dispute. This court dismisses all such claims for lack of personal jurisdiction.
That's the judge throwing out almost 50 cases in one fell swoop. He says Colorado courts don't have jurisdiction, but he also called those contracts unconscionable. Now, as a result, Acme's CEO sat down with us again to say he's changing his policies and dropping those defamation suits. And yet we found there's more to the story.
So you've made a lot of changes since the last time we talked.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to, we have respect for the court system while we disagree. The comments that were made have led us to make changes.
Acme Revival CEO Logan Beck now altering his company's policies after suing dozens of customers.
The inquiry is one of fundamental fairness.
At the end of January, a Jefferson County judge booted almost 50 of those cases from court for lack of jurisdiction.
I think justice was served.
A weight lifted for Gus Mankato. Acme's site shows he sent an Xbox for repairs last year and racked up more than $3,500 in storage and legal fees.
I think you guys shining a light on that really helped. So I appreciate it for you guys taking the time.
Acme now sending customers this email saying because of the court decision, they'll deduct the storage fees. And once the diagnostic fee is paid, the device will be returned at Acme's expense.
These guys, you got to give these guys credit. They just don't see what right from wrong, in my opinion.
Glenn Weber says he won't be sending Acme Revival any money. He shipped them binoculars for repair last year and accrued thousands of dollars in storage fees. While the storage fees are now gone, the legal costs are still listed.
Bottom line, what's your takeaway from all of this?
I think this is the dark side of the internet. I think that you have to be careful about who you contract with. I want to compliment all of you. I think that this restores my confidence in journalism. I think it's an incredibly valuable institution, and this is a perfect illustration of why it's important to communities.
Acme's CEO says he'll likely waive legal costs, but he's looking into liens if customers don't pay diagnostic fees. He acknowledges the optics of storage fees weren't great, and he's dropping defamation lawsuits over negative online reviews. For now, because he still plans to appeal the judge's decision.
Obviously, we think it sets a dangerous precedent for the state of Colorado, that if you're an internet company, or really any company, and you're doing business with customers out of state, you're going to have a hard time enforcing your contract in the state courts.
But Jefferson County isn't the only court that ruled against Acme. A Denver court took a different path, finding that $25 a day storage fee was not reasonable and lowered it. But in all cases, customers we've talked to are relieved. Many were just trying to save a little money by having a device repaired instead of buying a new one. Glenn Weber, who called this binocular gate, had this response about what his wife did after the ruling.
After this case was dismissed, went out and guess what she bought me? A brand new pair of binoculars, and these binoculars are actually better than the ones I had before. So there was some silver lining this whole thing.
We recently heard from Glenn, and he tells us he's putting this story in this year's Christmas card. But not everyone fought back when Acme Revival sued them. Many settled, paying out a lot of money. In court documents, the Attorney General says at least 54 people settled, paying Acme almost $150,000 combined. Those settlements stopped, though, after the judge's ruling in January. In February, Denver 7 Investigates got a tip that Acme Revival had packed up and moved out, taking customers' devices with them.
On the outside, the building may still have the Acme Revival sign, but inside,
It's completely empty now.
Yes, completely empty now.
no sign of them. Hallie Holland's family owns the now deserted property.
You haven't had a full rent payment since
November. He kept saying he was going to pay, and then we get into January and he's not paying. He said he was filing personal bankruptcy.
We're at Acme's facility here in Conifer, Colorado.
She's talking about Acme Revival's CEO, Logan Beck, who has packed up and moved out, leaving some customers wondering about their devices.
Do they have any of your clients' property?
Yes. I currently represent 5 people whose property I'm trying to get back.
Denver attorney Clay Harris concerned about where all those customers' devices went.
And I want to make sure that people's rights are protected in this, because it appears from the process, the fact that the judge, kicked 47 cases, that people's rights are not always being protected.
So we contacted Logan Beck, who declined an interview but released this statement saying, in part, Acme Revival has terminated its lease on the warehouse in Conifer, Colorado. He would not comment about whether he's filing for bankruptcy. But he says customers' property is now in a storage facility while he evaluates options. The company has now filed appeals in several cases. Hallie says he also threatened to take her to court too for talking to us while her family struggles to pay the bills.
Has this put your family in a bind?
Yeah. Every day that it's empty, we're losing money.
An update on Acme's appeals, they've been dismissed, so another win for customers. But the landlord, Hallie, recently told me Logan Beck never paid that back rent. In fact, he sued her for talking to us. Like so many others, she settled to avoid more legal costs, but she tells me they now have a new tenant, and she's been working with the Attorney General.
This sort of case is, for me, the poster child of predatory conduct.
Coming up next, Denver 7 Investigates takes your questions directly to the state's top consumer watchdog.
Will your office be fighting to get people their money back?
That's the next step.
The action he's taking in this case, he says, to stop fraud, and why customers are still reaching out to Denver 7 to find solutions.
It was through your reporting that I was able to kind of figure out that things had gone really sideways here.
That's one of the reasons we're on this case like a dog with a bone. We need to make sure that people aren't taken advantage of, aren't bullied, and I'm not afraid to take on the bullies.
While the state promises to take on Acme Revival, the Better Business Bureau now has 2 alerts against the company and a D rating. Acme Revival first came on our radar for suing dozens of customers, and in June we learned Acme's CEO Logan Beck was filing bankruptcy, but the Attorney General tells me not on his watch.
The way this company made its money was by tricking consumers to paying storage fees. It wasn't making its money by actually fixing products. It was making its money by tricking consumers. That's wrong.
Attorney General Phil Weiser not pulling punches. The state's top consumer watchdog revealed in June he's investigating Beck's, quote, unfair business practices. And court documents lay out for the first time what the AG calls a scam. He states Acme would promise to repair anything, but often hold devices hostage while charging illegal fees. He argues the company would use the threat of lawsuits to intimidate customers into paying settlements. And the AG says those storage fees were how Acme made a profit. He made those claims in court documents after Acme's CEO Logan Beck filed bankruptcy protections to put a stop to that.
We can't allow someone to go into bankruptcy and then all of a sudden get away with fraud. This is a well-known principle. Bankruptcy is not to bless fraud. This is fraud.
So will your office be fighting to get people their money back?
That's the next step. First, make sure bankruptcy doesn't extinguish people's rights. And then the question that we have is, how can we get people's monies back?
CEO Logan Beck said he'd challenge the AG's filing, calling it a grotesque misuse of state power. But the AG says some customers who did pay all required fees never got their devices back, or got devices that were still broken, like Jillian Rhodes, who paid Acme hundreds to fix a commercial printer.
This was a weekly email to them since the end of March. Please tell me when my printer is going to be returned to me every week. And, eventually I just stopped trying because I was getting no response. It was through your reporting that I was able to kind of figure out that things had gone really sideways here.
Jillian tells me she finally got her printer back, damaged, but she says our reporting has made a real difference. Now, since then, another win for Acme's customers in bankruptcy court. The bankruptcy trustee found customers sued do not owe Acme money. And if Acme has assets, those customers with claims deserve to be paid.
What's next after this moves out of bankruptcy court?
All these consumers who were ripped off have a right to be made whole. When you think about an unscrupulous business practice, cheating people, deceiving people, and then suing them afterwards, claiming they owe you money, is a particularly galling practice that we can't let stand.
So how can you protect yourself from a situation like this one? Before you click I agree on that website or ignore the hyperlink with the terms of service, here's a warning from the Better Business Bureau.
This is also where we really try to recommend doing your research on the company beforehand. So looking at bbb.org, looking at Google, looking at their website, try to see what other people are saying about the company and about their experience with that company before you send them your product that needs repaired or before you send them money.
Coming up next, some customers who paid Acme to have their devices repaired, still not getting them back, until Denver 7 Investigates stepped up to help.
I'm glad that this is finally resolved.
Yes, and thanks to you guys, because it wouldn't happen without your team.
What Acme's CEO says about missing devices.
I feel like we were robbed. They really took advantage of us.
Thanks for staying with us. Ever since Denver 7 Investigates started exposing Acme Revival's business practices, customers have been reaching out for help. Most recently, it's been people who paid Acme Revival thousands for repairs and never got their equipment back until we started calling.
I'm glad that this is finally resolved.
Yes, and thanks to you guys, because it wouldn't happen without your team.
Margaret Argento is relieved. A year and a half ago, her company paid Acme Revival more than $6,900 to fix this high-tech device that measures radio signals. And since then, radio silence. Desperate to get it back because it's worth $100,000, she reached out to Denver 7 Investigates, and we called Logan Beck. He blamed shipping issues with the contractor in Canada.
Why haven't they gotten their equipment back?
Yeah, I looked into the situation when you guys had reached out to us, and it's just an unacceptable failure of this company to ensure that devices that get into the UPS network are actually delivered. The good news is it should be resolved now. We do have it en route.
You sped up the process. You found out where the equipment was, and amazingly, it's coming back to us.
Margaret tells me they later learned this device was still broken, but they're sending it to a local shop to have it repaired and wanted to share their story as a cautionary tale.
Meanwhile, the Attorney General tells me they will keep fighting to help Acme's customers in bankruptcy court to make sure whatever assets the owner has go to the right people.
This is where the action is. This is where our emphasis is. We're going to keep fighting for consumers and to make sure that this company and this bad actor doesn't get away with the fraud that he's done, and consumers get back the money that is still there that we can get them.
We reached out to CEO Logan Beck for an update, and he framed this as a larger issue for business owners in a statement saying, in part, the court's decision is forcing those businesses to shoulder the full consequences of someone else's misconduct, with no coherent legal pathway for addressing abandoned, hazardous e-waste. He also criticized what he calls the Attorney General's weaponization of Colorado's consumer protection laws for the sake of political grandstanding, an effort aimed at punishing a Colorado business while shielding out-of-state bad actors who are, in fact, not Colorado consumers. It's the same argument he gave back in September.
I think it's just hard to run a company when you have that verbiage in the media that this is a fraudulent place. I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. Every part of my being. I will fight that to the death.
Denver 7 Investigates was able to shine a light and help Acme's customers after they reached out. So tell us what we can do to help you and our community to right the wrongs. If you have a story idea you'd like me to look into, scan the QR code on your screen. I'm Denver 7's consumer investigator, Jacqueline Allen. Thank you so much for joining us and for helping us expose how customers pay so you don't have to.